Jeff Gersman.
Hello, Dan Reichert.
It is a beautiful starlit night here in the Gerudo Desert. All is right with the world. Oh yeah, all is right with the world because I am playing a Zelda game.
Okay.
Have you played Zelda games, Jeff?
I've played dang near all of them.
Which ones have you not played?
There are probably, well, I mean, I have touched every single one of them, like played through.
Like the cartridge?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. No, I mean, I've you know, even there were some of the handheld ones I probably did not finish.
Like the Oracles, Minish Cap, that stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Overall.
I think I finished Minish Cap, but maybe not
Minish Cap is a great one.
Yeah.
I love Minish Cap.
Yeah.
Here's a recurring thing in this game, Twilight Princess. Actually, I was expecting that to be rupees, but it wasn't. One of my defining memories of this one is constantly getting rupees that I can't fit in my wallet. Which you can see I've got the full 1,000 down there for my current wallet. So.
I thought I remember you saying that this version of this game, this Wii U version, started you with a bigger wallet.
Oh, it does. But all the wallets have more, and it's still a constant problem. To the point where I just need to stop. I tell myself, like, Dan, stop getting mad about it. You know this is a thing. It's going to consistently be a thing. And you don't ever really spend rupees anyway.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't really make a big difference.
Yeah, so. I don't buy potions and shit, so it still makes me mad, though. But yeah, if people have not surmised by now, this is Twilight Princess HD for the Wii U, re-release of 2006's GameCube/Wii title. I'm playing this with the controller. Which I've never done before. I'm playing with the gamepad right now. I've played a lot at home with my Pro controller as well, and both options are pretty good. I actually really like gyroscope aiming. I thought they've done a great job with that in the 3DS remakes of Majora and Ocarina, and also Wind Waker and Twilight Princess.
So aiming arrows with tilting the Wii U gamepad is...
Holding this and I'm just tilting this. It's so much quicker, especially if you're doing like the target minigame things or whatever.
Sure.
It's so much better than the stick, like way, way better. I actually switched to the gamepad at certain points because I like that so much better than using the analog stick. But yeah, okay, so where does this one rank for you? Is this middle of the pack? Is this, you somewhat famously reviewed this back in the day.
I did, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, I don't really rank them. This is just not a game that I would necessarily return to. I distinctly remember coming away from it being like disappointed that it wasn't more. Okay. That there just wasn't that it wasn't doing more with being a Legend of Zelda game, and also at that time playing it on the Wii, you know, the motion control stuff was not great.
Yeah, so that's why I'm really liking playing through it right now, because I think I only played through the entirety of this game once, and it was, you know, when I was reviewing it before the Wii came out. So at that point, the Wii was new, motion control was a relatively new concept and everything, and it was hard to separate my feelings with Twilight Princess as a Zelda game with how I feel about motion control and Wii. Like, there's just a lot going on when it came out. Yeah. And ever since then, I have wanted to play through this again, like the GameCube version or whatever, but then once I heard this was coming out, it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm obviously gonna wait for this.
Yeah, I ended up playing the GameCube version and reviewing that one as well, and thought that was just a better control method.
Turns out this is much better playing with the controller.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's been really interesting. I'm like 21 hours into it. Playing through this Wii U one.
Pig.
Yeah, it's got a piece of heart in there.
Hey, collect 5 pieces and get a new heart.
5 pieces, yeah.
And a small key.
Yeah. Which we did talk about this game and its place a bit on a recent Momcast. If people want to go back to that. I really like a lot of stuff about this game, especially as I get further into it, because
congratulations,
going into the ether. Early on, there's a lot more annoying stuff. Parts where like you can only be the wolf, which now I can just tap a button on the gamepad and turn into the wolf instead of having to do
like the early parts of the game, pretty slow, right?
Yes. So like there are parts where you have to be the wolf, and you have to collect all these tiers of light to turn back, and then after you do a few dungeons, you get the ability to just do it real quick. Whereas before you always had to talk to Midna and say transform into wolf. Now there is just a gamepad button you can press.
Oh, that's handy. Okay, because that was like kind of clunky. The interface, it seemed like a lot of Legend of Zelda interface problems in general, like across the entire franchise, would be solved by the presence of a second screen.
Yes.
Instead of even just original Legend of Zelda, hit start, wait for the sub screen to scroll up, change your weapon. Like having fast access to that stuff seems cool.
Well, plus maps when you're in dungeons and inventory. Quickly. Wait, he just hit that cow or that boar with his hammer.
Well,
I'm gonna try to kill this guy, Jeff.
Yeah, might as well.
So I've learned a lot of sword moves here.
Oh, yeah, jumping up and swinging and missing, that's a pretty good one.
Yep, look at that, Helm Splitter.
Helm Splitter.
Which I learned that the guy who, I learned this from, I bought the Hyrule Historia.
Now, what is that?
That's the hardcover official, like, Nintendo release, like, Bible of Zelda crap.
And why did you buy that?
You know, I'm usually not the type to buy just stuff like that. I don't buy a lot of merchandise for games, even if I like them. I read something about how the skeleton man that teaches you moves, like the Helm Splitter here, is actually the Link from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Because, you know, it's a different Link in most every one of them and everything, and there's a whole crazy chronology or whatever, and Skyward Sword's the first, and blah, blah, blah. And I actually don't care about any of that stuff. I've never really cared about the storyline. Like, I like the characters. I like Ganondorf.
I'm interested to know about it, but it's not necessarily something I'm, like, super invested in. But yeah, like that idea that there is some kind of like connective tissue between the different games, more than just like, well, here's the formula, we're gonna make a new one, and you know, who cares if it's the same Link or not? Whatever, I don't know. We're just making another game. Shut up.
Right, and you can.
But also, like that lore, that Hyrule Historia lore, always seemed like something that they just kind of came up with after the fact to say, like, I don't know, fuck it.
And maybe that's the case, but when it comes down to it, it's like a really well-made book. It's a nice hardcover thing. It's like got a bunch of really cool concept art and stuff I like looking at. Like this is one of my holy trinity of series. It's this, Mario, and Metal Gear. And I figure, you know what? It's this official thing. I can look at all this art from all these 30 years of Zelda and everything, and read these weird little tidbits of story and everything. So it's been cool to flip through, basically. Why did I start talking about the Hyrule Historia?
I don't know. Oh, you were talking about the Helm Splitter.
So that guy that taught me the Helm Splitter is it was the 64 Link taught me that stuff, but he's a decaying carcass man now. But he just teaches people. See, he's a golden wolf, and he's staying at the Golden Wolf, and then he tells you where to find him, and there's 7 mystical arts he can teach you. Oh, there's a Poe. I'm not gonna worry about a Poe right now. See, I just playing through this again is getting me way in the Zelda mood. And I think recent years have really done that with the way Nintendo has done stuff, because between the 3DS and Wii U, you can now play remakes of Ocarina, Majora, Wind Waker, and now this. So basically all the 3D ones.
Yeah.
Not counting the DS ones, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, within the last few years, I've played through all those games again. And I like seeing this in HD. It didn't look that great when it first came out because it was clearly made for the GameCube.
Right,
They threw it on the Wii, and, you know, we're all excited about a new generation of consoles and everything. And then, you know, you're just looking at GameCube graphics.
Yeah, it was not a... I mean, it looked fine at the time.
It was okay.
Really. Like in terms of it, you know, like a launch game and pushing a new console forward and stuff like that. Like, you know, look, the Wii was not a powerhouse. It never was.
Right.
So, but it was capable of certainly capable of more than check out this GameCube game.
Yeah, and, you know, textures were a little muddy and everything. And actually, looking at it now, it looks better. Like I like seeing it in HD, obviously. But the art style, it seems to play it a bit safe. Yeah. And then there are some places where it just looks bad. Like a lot of the humans, basically. A lot of the humans look awful. I've been tweeting random pictures of people I've run into.
Yeah. Some of those guys look real terrible.
It ain't great. It really isn't.
Like HD only serves to like expose, like, oh, this stuff's real rotten.
Yeah. I kind of get what they were going for. Like they wanted to go back to like, you know, the more adult-looking Link from Ocarina or whatever. And like Link's model, I think looks good. Plays it safe, but I mean, I think it looks good.
Hey, it looks like Link.
It's definitely Link.
What do you want? You know, I want him to look like a fun cartoon, honestly. But you know, but that's not a requirement. So whatever.
So have you always been on board with, you know, Toon Link, Wind Waker?
Totally.
You know?
Yeah. Like from minute 1 of that trailer, it was just like, holy shit. Like it was you know. So I was in Japan when they showed that.
Was that Space World after they showed that Space World demo? With the Space World demo, the adult one where Link was fighting Ganon that everyone loved. And then was it the next Space World they showed that?
I forget the exact lineage of when they showed what, but there was definitely like, you know, like people were gasping. Like people there were like pretty blown away. They were like, because people were expecting the kind of whatever other Zelda, you know, the blades will bleed, whatever thing.
Yeah.
So, and then when that was the look, I think that was surprising to people. But I remember the mood in the room being like, whoa, this is actually incredible. Like this looks amazing. Like Wind Waker was. I mean, that's how I felt. I was like, this is way better than the thing that they showed before. Like immediately on board with this. That makes perfect sense to try to go for this more stylized look, like whatever. This looks awesome. Like,
and I was thinking about this a lot ever since you seemed surprised on the Bombcast when I said that it was like hated.
I remember. I mean, I remember it being hated when it was announced and all that sort of stuff. That there were people that were like. People get this weird feeling like they feel this need that for Nintendo to not be seen as being for kids, as if that's a bad thing.
Right.
And people are like, no, we were gonna get our game that was gonna finally prove that Nintendo was not just for kids. And it's like, well, no, Nintendo's always, they've been Disney-like in their approach to families,
their
and stuff
characters
like that,
and everything.
and their attempt to appeal to families along the way, and that's just yet another example of that. And this weird need to like. No, I want the thing I like to be more adult like me is actually like the most immature attitude you could have. So, but whatever. So yes, I absolutely remember people being that way at the time. But I always kind of just figured that as soon as that game came out and was pretty much incredible, not perfect, it had its pacing problems,
especially at the time.
Yes. That was a pretty effective way to shut everybody up. Now, I remember coming away from that going like, this game's incredible, like end of story.
Oh yeah.
Like that's, everyone who was all pissed off about the look of it, they're wrong. And this is a great looking game. It is an amazing looking game.
Oh yeah.
And a great Legend of Zelda game. So like, to hear you say that there are still people that are like holding that grudge, that's maybe like the saddest thing in the world to me, that there's this notion that there might still be someone out there like with that attitude. That's really scary to me.
But I think the reason that there's that divide between how you think people took the art style and me is because when you saw that, you were in the industry at this point, you were working with professionals, adults, that could see, the forest through the trees and see that this is a cool art style and everything. I was in 12th grade when that trailer came out. And so if there's ever a time when people want to be taken seriously and not treated like little kids, it's when you're in fucking high school.
Yep.
So I remember I was working at Funkoland at the time.
Oh, that's
so I got all these dudes with ponytails coming in and being like, Zelda! And like my memory is everyone hating the shit out of it. Even when it came out. Because I remember I was a freshman year in college when it came out. And even then, everyone, all these 18-year-olds, it's like, fuck this, I'm not playing this kiddie bullshit. So I think that's why we have different memories of how people took this, because of just where we were, But I mean, maybe at the time, but like, those people, like that attitude certainly did carry up through the launch of it and stuff like that. But I would have think that, within like a year or so, anyone with that attitude would have still played it and realized like, oh wait, this is actually awesome. No, I distinctly remember people playing it. I remember playing it in the dorms and people being like, oh, this is bullshit. Like, people did not like it when it came out. Maybe that was an isolated thing with the people I saw, but it definitely was not this game's actually great type thing.
That's truly tragic.
Yes, and those people are wrong, I think. Like, it's a fucking awesome game.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever play the Wii U remake of that one?
Nope.
It's fantastic.
There's a part of me that wants to, but like also like I'm kind of saving up. I want to play new Zelda experiences.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of saving my interest in the franchise for the next game.
Right.
And instead of like, I don't want to burn out, because it's like I've played those games before. They're long games, and I don't necessarily. And honestly, there is some part of me that like. I don't want to play Ocarina again.
Yeah.
Because like right now, my memories of it are pretty well untainted, by kind of the modern take on it. And I feel like if I went back to that right now, I would probably feel about it the same way that I kind of felt about this game when it came out. Okay. Is just like, I'm kind of done with this format.
Okay.
And so like when it comes to like the Legend of Zelda and what I want from here, post Twilight Princess is, something dramatically different, but still fantastic. And that's where Skyward Sword didn't get it done. It's like they tried to make changes to the formula, and Majora's Mask as well. That makes grand changes to the formula, and it's an interesting experiment that I don't enjoy playing at all.
Right. But do you appreciate that it happened?
Yes.
That they did this ballsy thing.
Absolutely, yeah. So like academically, you look at that and go like, well, look, this is still. Let's say if you were to score that game based on the standards of its time, you would probably say that it was a great game, or at the very least good. Right. Because you go like, well, this is some of the best graphics that have been around on this platform, and now with Majora, it looks slightly better than Ocarina. You know, then they've done this sort of stuff. Like, you know, there's undeniable stuff about the bits and pieces of that game in that specific context.
Right.
But if I'm actually like breaking that game down in terms of just like, you know, as a complete package and what I think about it personally, like I have zero interest in Majora's Mask.
Okay.
I respect that they made it. I think it was a cool idea to try to actually make a direct sequel to a Legend of Zelda game.
Yeah.
Instead of like, you know, what the standard sequels are, which are this is the kind of different thing that only you need the Historia to actually piece together.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of standard sequel. That's why I say Majora's Mask is not one of those games.
Okay.
Because it is a direct sequel. It is a Final Fantasy X-2 sort of situation in a franchise that typically does not get those sorts of sequels.
But wasn't something like 10-2, wasn't that very much the same type of gameplay too?
I mean, no. No.
I didn't play enough 10-2 to know.
There was like pretty, you know, if you cared about 10, if you cared about Final Fantasy, which I certainly do not, there are large-scale changes to the combat and other things in that game. It's a fairly different thing.
Okay, because I was going to argue that because of the gameplay changes and everything that Majora does,
no, like
it's more than that.
You know, it's a side story. It is literally Zelda Gaiden.
Right.
You know, it is another tale of this specific Link.
Right.
Which is interesting because they don't normally do that sort of thing.
Right. I remember thinking it was weird when I first read about it that it was going to be a big thing for the 64 DD.
Yep.
And we're thinking like, I hope this thing comes to America, but it very much was like, hey, here's this weird offshoot for the DD for Japan.
Right. Yeah.
And then eventually it's like, oh, okay, never mind. It's coming to the States and everything.
Yeah.
And it's a sequel kind of, but it came quick too because Ocarina was '98 and Majora was 2000 or maybe late '99. Whereas between A Link to the Past and Ocarina, I think the past was 92 or something.
That's the benefit of, like, you know, taking an existing engine and modifying it to create a new game. You know, you're just making new assets and making the engine changes you need to support the time stuff. And you know, but like that time stuff is not like that didn't interest me at all. Like outside of like, oh well, this is kind of a neat idea. Like I thought the execution, I didn't appreciate it one bit.
Yeah, like if that is not fun for you, that time stuff, then that game's not fun.
Nope, no.
There's so much of that management.
I can tell you, that game is not fun for me.
Did you review that one back in the day?
I did, yeah.
You did?
Yeah,
Okay.
the management aspect of it, yeah, is totally not for me.
Okay.
And it's one of those things that, you know, like, again, like looking at it the way we were reviewing games back then, you look at it and go like, well, on paper, you know, like this is, you know, there are undeniable things about the graphics and sound here. There, you know, and it scores high.
Were you averaging things at the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I wasn't personally. An algorithm was.
Right.
You know, a spreadsheet was determining those final scores. So
right.
it was, you know, it was the way games got reviewed back then, for better or worse.
Yep.
You know, you look back on it now, and at the time, it seemed like the right way to approach video games.
Everyone had their different approach, you know? Like there's no one right way to do it, and people are still arguing about that, you know?
Yeah, but I think like that way increasingly is like super dated as games have expanded, right? I mean, you know.
That's back when gaming journalism and stuff, so much emphasis was on the graphics. Like the graphics were talked about as much, if not more so than gameplay.
Totally, yeah.
So yeah, back then averaging them the same is like, doesn't surprise me.
We didn't average them the same. It was a weighted average where gameplay mattered more than graphics,
right.
Which mattered more than sound, which mattered more than value, but the reviewer's tilt score was weighted just as highly as gameplay was.
Okay.
So those were the two top tier stats for that scoring system.
Right. I mean, the fact that, you know, graphics were even weighted into the score in any way is very much kind of an older style of reviewing games.
Yeah, and also like this notion that, like, you know, you can take the person out of it was I think, you know, it was something that you could get away with back when, like, you could make assumptions about the audience in terms of like the size of people that were playing games and the types of games that were being released that simply don't apply anymore.
Right.
You know, like so many different people, you know, you think about, and that was the era as it started to change. I mean, I know we're getting way off on a tangent here, but.
Well, I mean, it's a 10-year-old game. Might as well talk about the history.
Yeah, sure. But like if you think about the 16-bit era and sports games, those games were very accessible to people that played video games.
Yes.
And it wasn't really until the PlayStation that I feel like a lot of sports games went off the deep end and became only appealing to people that were fans of sports games and were fans of the sports they were based on and all this other stuff.
Right.
And that was the first genre that did that. I think over time, every genre has done that.
Right.
To a point now where genres don't even really exist in the same way because everything's technically an RPG or something. You know,
or anything with progression.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's got progression. Everything's got numbers that go up. It's, you know, like the genres of old don't really apply in the same way. But you know, like gaming blew up and spread out in a way that like there were enough people playing each different type of game that you could afford to do that. You could afford to make a game that didn't have a universal appeal, or it wasn't even shooting for a universal appeal.
Right.
And that's, you know, and that's been going on ever since, and you know, it's led us to where we are today. It's been great to see.
Yeah.
Because it means that more people are getting games that are their type of thing.
Yeah.
Instead of just like having everything be watered down and be like, well, we're trying to make it appeal to everyone, so every sports game is super dumb, every strategy game is dumbed down, every, you know, like they can go off the deep end and make that stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, like the scoring system that was used for games like this and that sort of stuff, you know.
So even if you weren't like super passionate about a game,
it could still,
you might have to give it a really high score.
Yes, it could still absolutely score highly, and Majora's Mask and this game are both in that boat where it's like, and Super Mario Sunshine.
You read that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You know, that's a game where, you know, if you look at what else is on the GameCube and all that other stuff, and the production value involved in Super Mario Sunshine, like,
undeniably high.
You go like, well, there's, you know, other than the camera being messed up beyond repair in these 2D, you know, the 2D things.
Those are great. Those are great.
Those were the worst.
Those are some of my favorite parts of Sunshine. I mean, I have a lot of favorite parts of Mario Sunshine. Those 2D, well, not 2D. It was just when they took the jetpack
side
away,
scroll.
right?
Yeah, they took the jetpack away.
Yeah. Man, I love those.
They were broken. They were basically broken. Those parts of the game are basically broken.
Man. I feel like GameCube Era is where we have a lot of differences in opinion.
Yeah, I mean, GameCube is a very dark time, I think, for Nintendo.
You know what? Actually, I'd say so too. It was maybe. I mean, the Wii was not the greatest either, but I'm by no means.
It's maybe not the greatest, but the Wii is where they found something new.
Yes,
you know?
and it worked for them, and it made them relevant again.
It's way more exciting than just about anything that was on the GameCube.
Yeah, I'll actually say, as much as I really like, you know, Wind Waker and Mario Sunshine and stuff, I'm not a huge GameCube guy. You know, there were people that obsess about the GameCube. Like, I only had a hand. Like, I like Metroid Prime a lot, the first one.
Oh yeah.
But overall, I wouldn't say I was never the big like Eternal Darkness guy. I appreciated the weird stuff it did and everything.
Yeah, that was the insanity effects. I thought were like those sounded fun in a game that I definitely was never going to play.
Yeah, I didn't control that well or anything. Like all these things. It's rare you see like a ton of enemies in the Zelda game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like all these tiny little skeleton people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like, considering how much I've defended, like, you know, Wind Waker and Sunshine stuff, I'll probably come across this good GameCube guy, which I actually never was.
Yeah, like the controller was bad. Like, you know, there's just a bunch of GameCube stuff that is just.
I feel like,
you know, it was a bad time for third-party stuff on Nintendo platform. I mean, the N64 wasn't great either.
Oh no! But I remember them trying to do like Splinter Cell and shit on GameCube. It's like, I don't want to play Splinter Cell on this controller.
Yeah,
like,
I barely want to play anything on this controller, to be honest.
Well, I feel the same way as I usually have about Nintendo controllers. Is that they're great for Nintendo games. Like I love the 64 controller for first-party games.
Yes, absolutely.
The GameCube, it's great for Wind Waker. It's great for Sunshine, for games that were built around.
The thing is like those games, I think you could still play with a more standard PlayStation style. You know, because it has the same amount of buttons on the face and all that other stuff. Like you get the analog triggers that click in, which was a cool idea that most games didn't really use that much. Yeah, I don't know. GameCube kind of sucks. I don't know.
I mean, overall, I tend to agree, you know. Mario Party took a dive, I think, around that time. I think that's when the darkest Mario Party entries were.
I mean, if you want to, like, Mario Party is just one long, dark corridor. It doesn't get any darker or lighter from game to game. It's just like, the shit show continueth. And you're like, well, here we go.
I was very excited about Mario Party on the Wii. I thought, not to get into a big Mario Party conversation, but I figured with the waggle and stuff, I thought there could have been some fun stuff. But it turns out WarioWare Smooth Moves did more fun stuff with that. Yeah, but I've always defended Nintendo controllers. Even like I love the 64 controller because of Mario 64 and Mario Kart 64. You know what? Actually, I thought it was fine for GoldenEye and stuff at the time because I didn't play for FPS on PC. You know, didn't know how much objectively better it could control.
But the thing is like a game like GoldenEye was built around that controller to specifically work well with it in a way that, like, you know, if you like GoldenEye on the PC seems like kind of a dumb idea.
Yeah.
Unless you would take out all that weird manual aiming stuff if you had a mouse and keyboard. Like, it wouldn't be the same game at that point.
But I mean, you do understand, obviously, like how much of a revolution that game was for people that didn't have gaming PCs.
I mean, that's another game that I reviewed that, like, I think doesn't look great in retrospect, but at the time it was absolutely revolutionary. I think I gave the game like a 9.8. Like, it's like GoldenEye is incredible, and also what it did for you know, location-specific damage on enemies, and the way it built its objectives and stuff like that. Like, the problem with GoldenEye now is I think the gameplay is very rough because of the way it controls and stuff like that, and because of that, it aged poorly and it aged very quickly. Because, you know, it didn't take long for, you know, more and more console first-person shooters to come along and be closer to the PC experience without feeling like it's compromising everything.
Yeah, like once DualShock kind of became a thing.
Yeah,
you know,
and
like,
you know,
it got better and better.
You know, Halo came along. You know, and I don't think Halo's perfect. I'm not some big Halo fan, especially Halo 1, but it did a lot for that sort of thing. You know, before that it was like, you know, the dual analog stuff. You know, people hadn't really wrapped their mind. Other games had tried it certainly, but you know, there were tons of PlayStation 1 shooters that were just like real rotten, like Disruptor or something. It was like, this is kind of a cool game, but the control is a real mess.
Yeah, even like the higher profile shooters back then, like I remember Medal of Honor, like that got so much hype and everything. Like, oh, it's people that brought you Saving Private Ryan or bringing you this World War II thing, the military guy, and Spielberg looked at it once. But then that, I think that was before, or that was right around the time DualShock came out. But I remember playing that on the original PlayStation thing, and like, man, first-person shooters on that controller especially.
Oh yeah,
but
it's just, you know, even after they'd figured it out, you had stuff like the PSP coming out that just didn't have the right controls to let you play them properly.
Yeah.
So you'd get like games like Coded Arms and stuff where you're like, this seems like kind of a cool game, except for the part where it controls like trash.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. So a lot of, you know, video games change.
Yeah.
and some of them age, like even some of the games that were great back then are real hard to go back to, and that's how I feel about GoldenEye.
Yeah.
Like I would love to actually go back to some of the way they handled their objectives in GoldenEye, and turning on more of them as the difficulty got higher and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really cool idea.
Yeah, like the dam level is completely different if you play it on Agent or 00 Agent, you know, which I thought was awesome.
But like I never really cared that much about the multiplayer in that game. It's just never, because that was a case where it's like I had better examples of how to play multiplayer shooters on the PC.
Right, whereas, you know, someone like me who did not have that, you know, it's like, well, this is the greatest thing ever.
It's like, no, it's split screen.
God damn it.
Oh,
Let me explain this.
So it's stamps.
Yes, okay. It's Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD. One of the things they added was you can get fucking stamps, of course.
Okay, let me ask you this. Have you ever used a stamp once?
No, I've collected hundreds of them. God damn it, now I gotta go all the way back around because I got that fucking stamp. So that's the thing that keeps happening, is no, I do not use stamps. But I'll see a treasure chest, and of course, someone who's played Zelda games forever, and you wanna go get that treasure chest.
Yeah.
So I just took that detour thing, like, oh, maybe that's where the map is in this one. No, it's the stamp, and so now I gotta do all this shit again.
So are those new chests they're adding to these dungeons, you think? Or are these chests that used to have rupees in them that they're like, well, we know your wallet's gonna be full, so.
Yeah. I'm guessing it had to be other stuff, because I doubt they would just have, what would that area be, you know, otherwise? So that had to be a chest or something.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Which, real quick, what I'm doing in this dungeon, if people haven't figured out by watching, is I need to light those 4 torches by the pose or whatever, and you can sniff, and so I'm following these, and that takes me to the ghost, and the ghosts light the lanterns, which lead me through the blah, blah, blah. So,
okay. So just, you know, refresh my memory here, what sort of abilities do you have when you're the wolf? Like, you can still fight, right?
Yeah, so when you're the wolf, you can do the jump attack thing where you bite them. You can hold NB to this thing that kind of encompasses anything, and then when you let go, it goes crazy and attacks everyone.
Yeah.
And you have to do that to defeat these Twilight monsters from time to time. This here is, I think, the first time they show a Stalfos Knight in this game, which they behave by the same rules that they always have. Gotta bomb them. So let me switch back. So yeah, it's basically just bite and stuff. Like, you don't get items really for the wolf or anything. Like, all the actual like progression and new stuff is when you're human Link. Right. So let me real quick.
You didn't bomb him at all.
Yes, I'm going to bomb him
going to
here. All right.
So yeah, touchscreen is just primarily subscreen and maps and stuff like that.
Yep, you can do inventory stuff, you can do map stuff. You know, you can scroll and tap to warp between portals in the overworld, things like that.
Okay.
There is some amiibo stuff. You can tap any Link one, which is a Toon Link or the normal Link, to refill your arrows once a day. You can tap Ganon to make it twice as hard. Like, you take twice as much damage.
Oh,
and you can tap Zelda to refill your hearts, which...
and how frequently can you do that?
Once a day. For each one.
Once a day, meaning like a day-night cycle, or 24?
I got the sense it was 24 hours.
Oh, okay.
That's my understanding. Perhaps I'm wrong on that, but it made it sound like it was once every real day. So let me think about other like Wii U specific things, because like with Wind Waker HD, they added a ton. They completely like really fixed up the sailing stuff, gave you that sail that went twice as fast. All the complaints people had about Wind Waker that weren't related to its awesome art style, they pretty much fixed. The end game, which used to involve a ton of like paying Tingle to decipher these maps and everything, they really cut that down quite a bit. They've done some of that in here. So like in the early dungeons, when you have to collect these Tears of Light or whatever, which is just fetch quest stuff, running around getting these damn bugs. They made it 12 instead of 16, so that's saved you a little bit of time. It's definitely nothing as substantial as the Wind Waker HD changes they made.
Okay.
But overall, I think this looks better. And again, for anyone who's only played it on the Wii, this is a better way to play the game.
So that means this is like based on because the Wii version was reversed compared to the GameCube version.
Yeah, because like Link being left-handed or whatever.
Yeah, Link is left-handed, but they figured that most people would hold the Wii remote in their right hand, so they mirror flipped the Wii version of that game.
Right. It's a weird move, but yeah. So you look at old guides and stuff like that. It'll say different things.
Or yeah, depending on which. If you go look at a Wii version of this guide, every dungeon will be backwards.
Yeah, which it's been so long since I played it last that it's actually not really making much of a difference.
I was gonna say, yeah, like I fucking don't remember a damn thing about the structure of any of these dungeons or worlds or anything, stuff like that. That information is long gone.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this: like, there are things I don't like about how long it takes to, like, it takes forever to get going. Like, you'll be like 5 hours in before you really get to your first dungeon. But once you're in these, like, these are really, really good Zelda dungeons. And this one in particular has one of my favorite bosses in the entire series, which I
guess I wonder if because I thought the wolf was pretty lame. Is it less lame since you can change in and out of wolf form more easily? Is it just because it was like kind of a hassle and?
I mean, I'll show you again. The difference between that is the difference from being able to tap this.
Yeah.
To having to do this, which it's a matter of a couple seconds.
I don't really like Midna. I don't really,
See, I like Midna as a character. Yeah, I don't know. I am a fan of that. But yeah, controlling the wolf and stuff, I didn't think... Because, the other ones, Link to the Past and Ocarina, there's this theme of two different worlds. Light World, Dark World, Link to the Past, Old Link, Young Link in Ocarina. I thought that was much more interesting than, like, sometimes I'm a wolf and I can do this wolf sense thing and smell stuff or whatever,
Yeah.
I know that's this game's version, like the Twilight Realm is the second world, but... I liked it a lot better than Link to the Past and Ocarina.
Sure. Those are both way better games than this.
Oh, you'll get no argument here. And I know maybe I come across as like Zelda fanboyish from time to time because I fucking love it, but I admit when there's faults, and this game certainly has its faults, but I have a certain patience when it comes to playing through these games again because of like when you think back to like the games that made you fall in love with the industry, it seems like a lot of old computer games and stuff like that are the ones that I've seen you play and really get into. Like, wait.
Yeah, there are definitely some of those. Yeah, and I'm across the board. I don't know. Like, I was going to arcades a lot and stuff too.
So I mean, but
I don't know that I ever fell in love with the industry.
Okay. All right, well, video games.
Okay, yeah.
You love. It's fair to say you love video games, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, all right.
More than most things.
Right. So that's when I think of Zelda. I mean, I kind of chalk up my love of Zelda with the whole thing that got me into this industry. Like, I had played a ton of, I got an NES when I was 4 and played a shitload of Mega Man and Mario and Punch Out and stuff. But it wasn't until Link to the Past. And actually, I think I got Link to the Past and Mario World at the same time, which talk about holy shit, you know? Link to the Past specifically was the game that when I played, I was just like, oh my fucking god, like this is everything.
So that game, it is, yes, absolutely, it still is.
It is. There are very.
That is still an amazing game.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's.
I try to play it to completion once or twice a year, and it's still so good. And I know a lot of that might be nostalgia since I have just such ridiculously strong feelings about that game. But god damn it if it's not a perfect game. It is incredibly well made. I would not change anything about that game.
I'm trying to think. If there's anything I would. I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
I don't think there's like interface problems. I don't have a single fucking complaint about Link to the Past. There are certain things about like Ocarina and stuff in most games of that era that didn't age that great. Visually even. I love Metal Gear Solid, but playing it again now is tougher than it is playing Link to the Past.
Sure.
Link to the Past looks fucking awesome.
Oh yeah. 2D ages in a different way than early 3D is pretty hard to look at.
Specifically Super Nintendo though, because like the first Mario and the first I like this a lot. So you see how I'm moving around like this? You might have seen it earlier. I've got invisible bugs all over me, which I like.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah. At first I thought it was like a glitch the first time I played it. But yeah, something about Super Nintendo specifically because NES, it looks very blocky and pixely and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love it. But I think
that Super Nintendo games look real. Is that what you're saying? It's like reality.
Yeah. I've said it before, but when I saw Mario 64 for the first time, I've had this thought twice. When I first saw Mario 64 and when I saw Mortal Kombat, the first one, I thought, all right, well, we've peaked. We can't get better graphics than that. Like I was also an idiot kid,
well,
so
sure,
But I was like, with Mortal Kombat, I remember thinking my argument was foolproof in that I'm looking at real people. It doesn't get more real than real.
Yep.
Video games will never look better than the first Mortal Kombat in arcades.
And turns out you were right.
Yeah, I really like to look at that game. But yeah, I thought that was Mario 64 too. I was like, well, shit, there you go. That's it. Oh shit, go around here real quick. Fucking. Please don't make me do this again. Where's it? What got us on that?
I don't know. So there's also this amiibo that comes with it. Isn't that a dungeon or something?
That is underwhelming, I will say.
Okay. So
in fact, I'll show it real quick. It's a short thing. There's not a lot I can do with it right now.
It takes you to a new dungeon. Is that?
I wouldn't call it a dungeon. That seems generous here. Man, I'm wondering.
Bugs.
Yeah. Let me at least get to this item here. I kind of want to show that boss off.
No, yeah.
You okay with still going?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. This fucking thing.
Oh, right. What is this the fucking thing?
The Uku or something? I don't think I've ever actually used one of these things. So if you want to, you can use this horrifying thing to warp in and out of a dungeon, which I've never used those items in Zelda games like the mirror and Link to the Past and this, because like when I'm doing a dungeon, if I don't do it all in one sitting, it's really hard to go back and like, wait, okay, so now I'm back at the entrance, but I don't have keys. Which ones did I already unlock? Oh, I already got the item, but... I feel like that stuff might be more useful if you find yourself in a situation where it's like, oh, I got to this dungeon, I'm not actually supposed to be here yet. How often does that happen, though? Well, like the first time you played that game and didn't know the structure of the world. But I feel like there aren't even that many times where you can enter. Yeah, maybe not. Dungeon, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think, like... I just don't think that happens. Because in the original Legend of Zelda, it was certainly possible to, like, I went to level 4 before I went to level 3 before I went to level 1. Which that's great, and you get that feeling when you walk in, it's like, this seems way too hard. Yeah, like, maybe I shouldn't be here yet. Which is something I loved about Link Between Worlds, and it sounds like the new one's gonna do it, is that you can do it in different orders, which, that sounds awesome, because I like that feeling of like, maybe I'm not supposed to be here yet. Yeah. It's the same reason I like it when, like, something like, all right, buddy, let's get out of this. Like, I don't like it when enemies scale with you, because I like to wander into new areas and be like, oh shit, I'm punching way above my weight here. Yeah, I think that there's a case to be made for that sort of scaling in certain types of games, but I think, what you're saying, you certainly can, that can be really awesome in some games. Yeah. And that first Zelda, holy shit, like, I can't imagine playing that as an adult when it first came out, because like, I was a kid and I had no frame of reference for what was going on. For all I knew, all video games were like this. You know, I was like 4 when I played that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like to be older and to appreciate what that game did when it came out sounds incredible.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like I was a kid when that game came out, but I had still been playing video games long enough at that point to where The Legend of Zelda was like on another level. You were like, what? This thing is huge. What? You know, especially like, you know, but I felt that way about Super Mario Brothers.
Oh yeah.
Too, you know, or the not two, the first game, but you know.
Yeah.
Because I had played Donkey Kong and original Mario Brothers and all the stuff that was like, it took place on a single screen.
Right.
And, you know, you get Super Mario Brothers and you're like, wait, I can just fucking run?
Yeah.
And there's like, what? Like, it was mind-blowing at the time.
And I think that was Link to the Past for me. Like, when there are those games that when you were old enough, like you were old enough for the first Zelda to be that game for you.
But also, A Link to the Past was that all over again because it was that on a different scale. Like, you know, like the formula was already in place and stuff, but the changes they were able to make and how much more, I almost said lifelike. It's not really but just how much more vibrant the world could be compared to that first Legend of Zelda.
Oh yeah, which it's talked about all the time, but even like when you first walk out of the house at the beginning and you see the rain.
Yeah.
It's like, that was the most atmospheric shit ever when you first walked out. It's like, oh my God.
And that DSP shit making it all kind of echo a little bit, or, you know, just like the power of the Super Nintendo laid bare. You're like, man, this thing's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Ghost Sword.
Yeah, I bet if I turned into a wolf, I'd get to see more.
No, probably not.
Let's see. Let's do this here. Oh yeah, there's a fella there.
Oh.
This is actually just like a mid-boss. I think he's the one that gives me the item, and then I can pretty much just scoot right to the boss, I think. Do you remember the boss of this at all?
Nope.
Arbiter's Ground one? Hey, like, when you think of Twilight Princess, what are the memories that, like, the things you actually, like, remember about this game?
Nothing. It's people being shitty. Like, that is the only thing I remember about that game is, like, people being wrong.
Yeah.
And then not long after the fact, people will, you know, the typical transition that happens with a lot of reviews that get that kind of reaction is people of like going, oh wait, you were right.
Oh, as time goes by,
or oh wait, you know, you were actually maybe I would have scored that even lower than you did.
Oh right.
Like that was, you know, 6 months or less with this game.
Right. Yeah, I went back and read my review of the the original release of this. Turns out, yeah, I don't feel quite as strongly about it now as I do when I first reviewed it. So maybe I don't know what I'd chalk that up to. But I remember thoroughly enjoying it when it first came out. But with greater context now, with the rest of the series, I won't say this is one of the weaker ones, but I won't say it's, you know, this is not a top 5 one. And yeah, things like the art style and everything, I'm really not huge on. But I'll stand by the dungeon design. I think this dungeon design is fantastic. Like, as I'm playing through this again, I really would recommend this to people who have never played it, or if they want to, if it's been 10 years or whatever. Because yeah, separated from all the Wii hype and the new console launch game, everything, it's easier to kind of have some better context for this.
I can see that, yeah, and it's certainly a better game. You know, having played the GameCube version, I can tell you, it's a better game without the motion control.
Yeah. Were there ever any like Wii games that you felt the motion control was a actual like huge benefit?
Oh, Wii Sports.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you know, like, but no, I'm like. Any other example I would give would just might as well be Wii Sports, you know, because it'd be for the same reasons, you know.
Well, there was that time where they actually tried to. It's like, well, the Wii's hot, so let's take all these big series from other franchises, and bring it to the Wii, like Call of Duty 4 Reflex Edition.
Yeah,
that
stuff was terrible.
Yeah,
you know, that wasn't a fun way to play that game. It wasn't it didn't feel more accurate. You didn't feel more in control. Like
it looked shittier.
Yeah, it looked like shit. You know, that stuff was bad.
Yeah.
You know, trying to cram traditional games onto this motion, you know, it's like with anything, like any good peripheral, the Kinect, you know, good peripheral, the activator, but you know, games built specifically to work with that kind of control mechanism are going to work better than cramming any old bullshit onto it. So like the idea of like, hey, let's make Call of Duty, but make it work like, you know, cobble some motion controls onto the end of it, and like, yeah, of course that's going to be terrible.
Yeah,
you know, Legend of Zelda with, you know, Wii controls shoved in. Like, of course that's going to be terrible.
Yeah, man. Okay, so this came out, and I thought, by the way, I just got the really cool item that used to be the boss here. This is the spinner, which I still think is super cool. I remember being so excited about the controls. Like, I kind of bought into the whole idea of what the Wii wanted to be. And thinking like, oh, it's gonna be so much more immersive when I like, instead of just pressing the button, I'm swinging a sword. Like, that's gonna be so much better. And I think I tried to convince myself that was the case. And then as time went on, I was like, actually it's just replacing a button press. This isn't actually that much better.
Well, you know, it's like, and that was the thing that was maybe even more disappointing about something like Skyward Sword, where they did try to have some nuance with it. Whereas this game had none. This game was, as you swung the thing, you might as well have been touching a button.
Yes, exactly.
And that wasn't great. So, you know, that was maybe the true missed opportunity of a game like Skyward Sword, is when they revisited it and said like, well, okay, what can we actually do this right?
Right.
And the answer was like, yes, but that isn't making this game any better. In fact, it's still probably worse.
Yep. I remember thinking like the year of Motion Plus. I remember they talked it up a bunch, and they're like, oh yeah, this motion wasn't everything it could be in Twilight Princess. It will be though once we, you know, once we
sell you a better controller,
or this little
buy
box that you
they buy this box for it. Yeah, that was real.
Yeah, I'm not gonna touch this because I think it's just a hurt piece. Damn it! I just want to get to the boss.
Just
I'm pretty
a heart
close.
piece.
Well, yeah, I've got my real save. None of this matters. I'm just trying to get to the boss at this point. And some of that stuff was cool in a gimmicky kind of way. You know, they're like, oh, I'm cutting this bamboo thing, and this thing's falling the way I cut it. Like, oh, okay, awesome.
I mean, yeah, you know, hey, Fruit Ninja's cool too.
Right.
For much the same reason.
But for little gimmicky games, not Zelda. You know, I don't want Zelda to be that. Oh my God, stop going. Oh, Jesus. Please don't fucking die here. Okay. Yeah, Zelda, I don't need gimmicks with Zelda, really, you know? I don't want motion control and things like that.
I think that, you know, again, if they build a game around it and build it well, there's a way to do it. But I think even Motion Plus, you know, that stuff was still not great.
No, and I don't think that really added anything really. I never really got on board with Motion Plus.
Well, you know, they treated it like a gimmick in a lot of the enemy design. It was like, oh, here's a bunch of enemies that have very obvious tells about whether you need to slash them horizontally or vertically.
Yeah, they're gonna hold their shield this way.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing they did with that, you know?
Yeah. Which it got even more infuriating, because even though, yes, it was more accurate and you could do more with Motion Plus, there were bosses that very much, like the last boss, requires a ton of very specific Motion Plus bullshit.
Yeah, right.
And it didn't work that well.
Yeah,
so like you'd be trying to like get in between his stuff or whatever the way he was blocking things, but you couldn't because it still wasn't that accurate.
Like the dark secret of the Motion Plus stuff was like, oh, by the way, you need to like constantly recalibrate this stuff mid-game.
Yes.
You're like, what? No.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
That was really not great at all. Okay, I'm actually close to the boss now. Yeah, man, the Wii was such a weird thing. It seems so important for Nintendo's history as far as it made them survive.
It's huge, yeah. You know, it's and it changed the course of Nintendo and gaming to a certain extent. I mean,
right.
You know, and I think like people now kind of look unfavorably on that stuff, but it was, in the instances where it was cool, it was very cool.
Yeah.
Wii Sports is very cool.
Yep. Ah, God damn it. And people want to shit on that for being, you know, kiddie, whatever, minigame stuff. And yeah, it's totally just, it's minigames, but it worked.
Yeah, it's also like incredibly fun.
Yeah.
And very easy to pick up and play. Like it's an incredible achievement.
Yep. Oh, God damn it.
Because so many games can't be accessible or aren't accessible and yet still fun to play for anybody. Like that, yeah. I mean, whatever, man. Wii Sports is still badass.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind playing that.
What, bowling, tennis?
Yeah.
Because boxing was not great.
Boxing was not great.
Baseball was pretty bare bones.
Yeah.
Golf worked pretty well.
Yeah.
I liked golf.
Okay. I would do some Wii bowling right now. If you presented me with that, I'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll bowl a fucking game. Why not?
Yeah, that was definitely the star. Like, God, that was the thing. I remember bringing, like, after the bars or whatever in college, just like everyone wanted to go back. And so I remember I had the Wii a little bit early before it came out.
Right.
And I remember being so excited, like, just like basically getting all these people at the bar, like, I've got something I've got to show you all. Like, this thing is amazing. And I'd bring them all back and be like, look, you do it like a bowling ball. And people's minds were fucking blown by that.
Yeah.
Because it was genuinely awesome back then. But then, yeah, the promise did not go much past these.
Well, and it led to just a lot of knockoff stuff, and like 2K and, you know, Midway or Warner or whatever it ended up being with like Game Party and
EA Playground.
Yeah, like all the other like shitty like motion minigame collections that were all terrible.
Yeah.
Like Wii Sports Resort only underscored how terrible all those knockoffs were.
For sure.
And there was just like that feeling of like, well, we're told if we put the word party in our title, it literally sells more copies on the Wii because of, you know, whatever the
association.
The association with Wii Party or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, which Wii Party is a horrible fucking game.
It's garbage.
It's just you get a controller with it.
Though.
And controllers were in really short supply for a while,
They
right?
were, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like, oh, I get a game and, yeah, whatever. I'm gonna skip this and get right to the fight. Okay, so this is one of my favorite Zelda fights ever. Like, I think this is so cool and very different than the average Zelda boss fight too. So this thing's just cool in general, spinner.
Yeah,
because you're just surfing on sand and shit. So it turns into this like kind of pinball plinko thing of trying to get down here, because these things pop up. Shit, that was not a good run. Maybe I can still get it. Yeah. So you got to break his spine a bunch of times. This is not ringing a bell at all? Like this whole fight?
Yeah, this is looking, I do remember this, like seeing it, yeah.
Okay. That's the thing, like all these games, or all these dungeons and these boss fights and everything are kind of fucking awesome. You say what you will about the art style and everything and the wolf stuff, but there is some good classic Zelda shit in this game.
Sure. You know, that's cool. I think there are definitely people that's just what they're looking for out of a Zelda game, so that's nice. I mean, it's...
But at the same time, like, as much as I love this for being a bunch of classic Zelda shit in it, I'm with you in that, like, I'm really excited to see what the hell they do with this Wii U one, the real next one, you know?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I'm totally up for, like, you know, there are the people that the Zelda purists and everything, they're like, oh, don't ever change anything about the way this series is.
Right, like that's...
I'm all for changes, you know? Like, I'll love the classic stuff like this, but I also want to see what they could do with a more open format.
Yeah.
Like the stuff they changed in Link Between Worlds, I thought was very, very welcome.
And I want to see them do their own thing, you know? It's not, you know, it's certainly not like, oh, if only they made Skyrim, but The Legend of Zelda. Like, no, I don't want that game either.
Right. Because historically, some of the best designed games ever. I want to see what they can do with new stuff. Like, that team is incredible. Oh, God. God damn it, get the fuck out of my way. Ugh, I hate that shit. Really hard to move yourself back around. God damn it, just get the momentum. Yeah!
This thing seems unhappy about where this is going.
I broke his spine several times with the spinning top.
That's bad. Usually you break someone's spine once and they're kind of done.
Yeah.
This guy 3 times, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to spoil anything here, Jeff. Just a little surprise with this one.
You only break a spine twice?
No, I broke his spine 3 times.
I thought that was twice.
That was 3.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I got 3 in there. So I figure I'll go down there, get my heart piece.
Yeah, you're done. Congratulations.
Yep. No problem here. What activates it? Oh, yeah. Right here. Say what you will about this game. The spinner's fucking cool.
The spinner is cool. Yeah, I'll give you that.
I'm with you on Skyward Sword, though. I remember thinking, like, oh, Wind Waker was so cool because it was, you know, the sense of freedom and sailing around and finding these cool little items or islands. And then Skyward Sword, I was like, oh, that's gonna be awesome, flying around and seeing these cool little islands. But it was not nearly as cool. Nope. God, that fucking bird. Oh shit, the thing's still alive.
Oh shit, that thing's still alive.
This bird does not.
Teeth don't seem to be sharp though, so maybe it's just not a problem.
I got a plan for this guy. Okay, so I actually gotta hear him here. It's like, this looks cool as shit. Like, this seems kind of un-Zelda-like. Like, something on this seems like more, I don't want to say like Naughty Dog, but it seems like more of a set
Drake
piece.
On a spinner.
Yeah.
Like, whoa! Whoa! Now see if they made Link talk.
Yeah.
Whoa! Oh! You know, like, this is
that would
great.
be way
this
better,
is great stuff.
They should have added that to the HD one here.
Yeah. Add my separate Foley track. Oh!
We're gonna need more sound bites than that if we're gonna make the full mod here.
Oh! There you go. How's that one?
He just jumped off a really high thing and he landed and his feet hurt. He flashed red for a second.
Oh!
Okay, that's good. He just opened a chest with something he's disappointed in. Okay, something he's really excited about.
Ah!
All right, I think we got it.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I think we got the whole sound bank now. Oh, shit. This shit's... This does seem on Zelda-like, right? Like, something like this. Like, boss fights you usually can find in one kind of more tinier room, not this big, crazy surfing around thing.
The crazy spinner thing definitely is a, you know, a cool, different thing. But, you know, you're still kind of just like, well, gotta hit this thing 3 times. Just only this time there was a second phase that I also have to hit 3 times.
Yeah. I just think it looks really cool. Oh, shit! All right, Jeff. This has gone long, and I still want to briefly show the Wolf Link amiibo thing. I have to hit him 2 more times. You as my boss, do I kill this thing and then show the amiibo thing, or do I just go right into it?
Just let's take this run here. See if you get this hit in, then
okay. If I don't blow it here, is what you're saying?
Blow it here.
Oh, shit. All right. Well, I need to hear when it's when he goes. Ah, that's when I got to jump. Wait. That's why it threw me off, because I usually start from over here. Okay. Wait. Nope. I start from the right. Okay. There we go. Okay. And then it's gonna be after this one. I hit him quick. And fuck you. Yep. Okay. Got that one. Then I just need to get the one more hit after this.
I'll also say that, like, for as much as I have enjoyed the composition of the music in Legend of Zelda games,
oh, I killed it.
No. This kind of like synthy music used in this game, like,
really?
They could have done better then. Disk storage size being what it was in terms of like, hey, just maybe go get an orchestra, maybe fucking record some stuff.
Man, I feel totally differently. Like playing through this again, I had the thought of like, this music's way better than I remember it being. Like there are certain tracks for sure that I thought like, oh, these are
okay. Like, again, like I have no problem with composition. It's literally just like, you know, hey, you're
the actual
MIDI,
quality of it. Okay.
Yeah, your MIDI stuff. Like even then, it was the era of like, you know, you could have really just gone and recorded this music.
Right. I wonder if maybe you have a better ear for that because you've actually done like music stuff where like if you asked me if this was an orchestra or something else, I wouldn't know. I'm not. I guess I never really thought of it that closely.
It doesn't. You don't have to listen to it too hard to go like that's a computer making that noise.
Oh, okay.
Which again, I like computers that make noises, but you know, it's another thing that like as the standards of games changed, stuck out about this game.
Just the sound quality feeling dated and everything.
Yeah.
All right.
Or like in terms of just like, hey, it's a flagship series, like push it forward. Hey, spend the money. Spend the money.
Yeah. All right, Jeff, I'm going to do what everyone's here for, Amiibos.
What? No one is anywhere ever for Amiibos.
It came with this Wolf Link Amiibo.
So does it really just show the Amiibo logo on that screen no matter what? Like every time you pause the game, it's like, by the way,
yes,
Amiibo.
Which let me tell you something else this does. This Wolf Link Amiibo that I'm holding that no one can see, it's going to do a thing that you're about to see, but also it can be your quick load Amiibo. So when you go to the title screen, you set like slot 1 is your quick load one, and you tap it on the screen, and it instantly loads you into your game, which saves you having to hit A twice. So that's like this whole like functionality.
Awesome.
That literally the only thing it does. It's not. I thought you'd touch it down, it would save, touch it down, whatever. No, it's just to load into it a little bit quicker.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tap this down here because it says Amiibo, and oh, what the fuck? It says the Wolf Link Amiibo cannot access the Cave of Shadows right now. Try again later. I bet it's because I'm in kind of a story-ish. Yeah. Jeez. You know what? If I save, I'll be able to just...
I mean, you beat a boss, can't you? Isn't there like an easy way out?
Yeah, but I mean, it's going to be Zant and Power and Triforce, and I'm guessing. Let's see. I just want to touch this fucking Amiibo.
What?
Oh. I'm sorry. Drew will cut that out. So if I can... Oh, tell me I can skip this. Oh, wait. Okay, maybe I can do it now. I hit down, and then I do this. Yeah! There we go. All right. So, do I just... I'll save over my quick look file here. All right, this is underwhelming. I've done a couple runs of this this Cave of Shadows thing, which if you have the Giant's Wallet already, which if I remember correctly, you have to get every single bug and give it to Agatha in Castletown, which I have not gotten all the bugs. You will get the Colossal Wallet, which is 9999 rupees. But I don't have the Giant Wallet, so I don't know what I get if I beat this, but it's also kind of gated by how many hearts or how far you are in the game. So, you have to be in wolf form for this, which you press the wolf amiibo to get here. But these things you have to kill. You have to kill them all in one like fell swoop, otherwise they revive each other.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
So this is a 40-room dungeon that you have to do completely in wolf form. So, you know.
But it's like combat trials, though, right?
Exactly.
Not like a thinking man's dungeon.
Yeah, so when people said like dungeon and things like that, like noob.
Dungeon, that's real terrible, because dungeon has a pretty specific meaning in a Legend of Zelda context.
Yeah, and I feel like they use the term
like
dungeon at some point.
Okay.
So like the new Cave of Shadows dungeon. I don't know if they ever painted it as like, hey, this is a full-ass, real, new thing that we made for this game. I'm not sure, but this is all it is. I've gone as far as it would let me go at this point in the game.
Yeah.
Because then at the end it says like, oh, get stronger and come back. And then depending on how many hearts you finish with, it saves that many hearts to the wolf amiibo. So like in the middle of the Cave of Shadows, you can replenish yourself. But yeah, I've gone as far as you can go so far in this. And man, if this is the thing that makes you on the fence about whether you want to get this HD remake or not, don't do it. They've had modes like this, like Wind Waker had that island where you fall into the hole and there's like 100 things or whatever.
This stuff seems crummy.
Yeah, like combat trials in general aren't great, but especially when it's just wolf shit, which I'm not a big fan of this.
Yeah.
It's not a reason to get the HD remake. But overall, I mean, I think we've definitely talked about. If you haven't played Twilight Princess, I say it's worth going back and checking out, especially if you're really wanting some Zelda, the one that's coming out later this year, or if you haven't played it in 10 years. I think I like it a little better than back then, especially if you played it on the Wii. But yeah, it's not without its faults for sure. But looks better. It's got some little ease of use things, but don't expect them reinventing the Twilight Princess experience for this.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I think.
Yeah, that's probably it, huh? I don't know.
Yeah.
So something that has me concerned with me not really. Oh, that's lame.
Yeah.
With me not being a Twilight Princess fan, shall we say, the notion that they're saying that this wolf amiibo will do something in the new Legend of Zelda actually really gives me pause, because the last thing I want is for a new Legend of Zelda to have anything to do with Wolf Link and Midna. So I'm hoping that that's just like, well, this is the amiibo we're selling with it and that's what's gonna work. But if it's like, hey, we're gonna bring some Twilight Princess into your new Legend of Zelda, like, please don't do that.
I would be very surprised if it was anything that substantial. I mean, I can't imagine if there's a substantial part of the game, including like a different character or different gameplay.
Maybe you're right.
They wouldn't say, hey, play this HD remake of a 10-year-old game and save your hearts to your, like, I bet it's gonna be some bullshit little bonus or outfit or something. I don't think it's gonna be like a Wolf Link Midna thing or anything.
Yeah, maybe you're right. But the notion that that new game takes place in a world where the Wolf Link might not seem out of place is troubling to me, because I don't want to see any of that stuff again.
Right,
It's not the Legend of Zelda I'm coming for, so.
Right.
We'll see, I guess.
Yep, but yeah, I guess we'll leave it at that. That was a pretty wide-ranging discussion here, but I still like Zelda. I like Twilight Princess.
They should make another Legend of Zelda game. I think that'd be a good idea.
I think so too. I think we're on the same page with that.
Oh, right. All this stuff with its vague, like, Cybertron looking, but like real bad. Yeah.
I like the music when it does this stuff. It goes, wait, is it gonna do it? Oh no, it's not actually doing it. Yeah, these weird things. I like them. I think they look cool.
Not a fan.
Yeah. I think they're all right. Anyway, Jeff, thanks for taking this look back with me.
No problem.